Hey guys, it's me Suja over here. Welcome back to another video. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my personal experience um, of being in Southeast Asia and the fact that my interaction with white tourists who are in Southeast Asia and how they actually perceive Indian tourists in Southeast Asia or Indians in general in Southeast Asia. So yeah, you can actually check out the title of the video. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for making this video, but this is something which I actually want to get off my chest. And it's just that the sad reality is that it still goes on. Most Indian tourists in Southeast Asia, I'm talking about Vietnam, Thailand, especially, they're not looked in a very positive way, by these white tourists, Caucasian tourists who come from the West or who come from Europe, especially, or maybe from Australia or whatever, because in their mind it's something different, how they perceive Indian tourists. So yeah, before I start talking about this topic, welcome to my channel. The name of my channel is called as Sujo in Vietnam. um, I've been living in Vietnam for over 7 years now, and I was an English teacher for 4.5 years, and then I started my online business. I'm into digital marketing, and I'm also a full-time YouTuber. So if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, just hit the subscribe button, and that way you can support my content. It takes less than 2 seconds. So yeah, just let me have a bit of my tea. Having my evening tea right now. Right. So yeah, I'm still here in India. I'm here for a short stay. I'm just working on, just trying to focus on my online work before I head back to Southeast Asia or somewhere else. Um, yeah. So I want to talk about this topic, right? Like especially, when I was in like most of the white tourists, when they come to Southeast Asia, they usually, maybe they come first time to Southeast Asia, and they have never seen Asia in their whole life. It's a completely different environment, cultural shock and everything. um, that's pretty normal. And of course, I'm a very open-minded person. I like to make friends with anyone if I'm outside the country, irrespective of their nationality. If he or she is a black, white, Chinese, or whatever, as long as the person is approachable, friendly, and I get the good vibe. But sadly, it's just that I never got that kind of good vibes, from most of these white tourists who come to these specific Southeast Asian countries. Like whenever if I'm in a tourist spot, right, where predominantly a lot of white tourists are there, and I'm a person of color, I'm from India and I got dark brown skin. um, I'm not perceived very well. It's just that most of them, they'll give you that rude stare, you know, or they show you that discomfort, like, oh, what is this Indian person doing in Vietnam, or what is this Indian person doing in Thailand? And it's just that they feel more comfortable when they see a lot of their white tourist folks around in the specific Southeast Asian countries. And they have a very, it's sad to see that most of the white tourists who come to these specific Southeast Asian countries, they come with a very different mindset. It's just that, like I spoke in one of my in when I spoke about the white privilege problem, which is predominantly there in Southeast Asian countries, especially Thailand and Vietnam, where they feel that these tourists feel that, well, I'm a white person, I have white skin, and I'm going to be treated like a king and a queen. The sad reality is that they do, and if you're a person of color, or especially if you're an Indian tourist, chances are you will not be treated the same. You will not have access to go to those kind of rooftop bars, clubs, or fancy restaurants, just because you're an Indian and you have dark brown skin. You're not a white person, and they have, and like these white tourists, they're pretty much comfortable with that. They, when they see like some person of color or some Indian person is facing racism in these Southeast Asian countries, they don't speak up. They just like to watch. They smile. Because most of them in their mindset feel that India is still a very poor country. It's very underdeveloped, and it's just that because these people, they have never come to my country and they've never seen the modern India. And for me, honestly, India is expensive. It's expensive compared to compared to Vietnam, which I do find. So that's the reason why I don't go out a lot to shopping malls and everything. And of course, a lot of young Indians I see. All of them, most of them, they all have iPhones. Like iPhone 13 is kind of basic, but most of them, they do have iPhones. They do a lot of shopping, and the standard of living is kind of improved a lot. But sadly, most of these white tourists who come from Europe, especially, and also from some other maybe Western countries, so their perception is very different about seeing an Indian. And I've seen like some of these white tourists, they talk rudely with some Indians, or and the thing is, I think it's time that most of these tourists, these specific Caucasian tourists, these white tourists, when they come to Southeast Asian countries, they need to understand that, if you see an Indian person, if you see an Indian tourist or something, don't treat them poorly. Don't give them that shitty stare, or don't look down on an Indian person. I never do that. I don't have hate for white people. I lived in Russia for many years of my when I was a teenager. I did my schooling over there. I had Russian friends, and they were all whites, and they were like very we were like very good buddies. It never came down to the color of our skin or whatever. And the sad part is, um, like most of these white tourists who come to Southeast Asian countries, not all of them are like are coming from well-off families. Most of them are like maybe backpackers, or because I lived in countries like Australia. I lived in states. I worked in supermarkets. I did night filling, and like there were like we had white coworkers. They also were like working in night shifts and everything. So you know what I'm talking about. So um, it's just that I'm not going in that. I'm not talking about that topic. But what I'm saying is, most of these white tourists, they come to Southeast Asia with the feeling that they will cherish the white privilege factor. And of course, it's easy for them getting an English teaching job because they are like white skin. And of course, you know how it is in Southeast Asia, countries like Vietnam and Thailand, they bend over heels if they see a white tourist. All access granted, giving them gold standard treatment. But if they see an Indian person, he may not be allowed to go to a rooftop bar in Bangkok. I've seen about this YouTube video about this Indian guy. He was like properly dressed. very nicely dressed and everything, and he was not allowed to go in that rooftop bar in Bangkok simply because of the fact that he's not white. He's got dark brown skin, and he looks Indian. And this thing actually happens around in Thailand. Vietnam, in certain ways, is a bit more, I would say, a bit more kind of understanding the factor. But yeah, I do feel that heat in Thailand, especially, if I'm in Bangkok, I may not get that kind of gold standard treatment all the time. And of course, like when I was in Pattaya, um, I was not very comfortable going to all these couple of these bars and everything because I don't get treated well by these Thai people, Thai staff. Just the fact that I'm Indian and they have a negative perception. And it's sad to see that like most white folks, the tourists or whatever, they don't speak up. When they see something going wrong, that somebody is getting discriminated, some tourist is getting discriminated based on the color of his or her skin, they don't speak up. They like to watch, or they're just like laughing and mumbling around with their buddies. Um, and it's hard, it's just that you're downgrading a nation severely. I mean, you have never been to India. And the second point, which I want to also include, is like you have these white solo tourists, solo travelers. They come to India, and they come with that agenda that okay, we're just going to show you the slums. We're going to show you about the bad experience, or some white chick tourist coming to India and she's talking about her horrible experience or whatever, just amplifying that or whatever. So just portraying the country, portraying my country in a very negative way. And that's not the way to go about it. Like, if you're coming to my country, you need to come with an open mindset. You need to don't just hit off straight to the slums, or just go to some shady places in my country. Also show the modern India, which unfortunately most of these white solo travelers, when they come to my country, they don't do that. So it's just that when they show the slums and the shady parts of my country, they feel like these YouTubers, they feel like they're going to get a lot of views, they're going to get a lot of engagement, they're going to grow their subscribers. It's very rare to find like white tourists, solo tourists, or tourists who are YouTubers. They're like showing like modern India, and the upgrades and everything. So yeah, still, unfortunately, sadly, most of the white tourists, they still have a very um, negative mindset towards Indians in Southeast Asia. And they come with that racist mindset, like, oh, I'm a white tourist, I'm going to enjoy white privilege. These the locals over here in Vietnam and Thailand, they're going to treat them like kings and queens. They're going to worship the white privilege factor. And I think things need to change now. And I think these specific Southeast Asian countries, they need to understand that what is right and what is wrong. And, like, you should treat all tourists fairly, equally. I mean, why can't an Indian why can't an Indian tourist be given access to go to a rooftop bar in Bangkok, a famous rooftop bar in Bangkok? Why is that so? I think things need to change, and then only people will realize. Like I said, I respect everyone. I respect all nationalities. I'm not a racist. I'm really not a racist, but I had to speak up because I've been living in Southeast Asia for so long, and I've experienced this kind of second class treatment. And someone needs to speak up regarding this. So I'm just making this initiative to talk about this, to educate tourists who are coming from Europe, West, especially white tourists, that you need to understand. Don't look down on Indians when you see them in Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, Vietnam. And you got to treat everyone fairly, and you got to stand up for certain people. If you see some kind of discrimination, racism happening, you got to if I see something wrong happening, it is my moral obligation to interfere and tell, like, this is wrong or whatever. But like I said, I'm pretty much an open-minded person. If you're nice to me, I will accept you irrespective of where you come from. I will never give you that hateful look, or I don't look down on tourists from different countries. I'm pretty open-minded. So you know what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah. So I would love to hear from you. Like, if you're a person of color, have you experienced racism from white tourists in Southeast Asia? Because I know I've seen a couple of videos where some African Americans, they talk about they actually get discriminated by the white tourists, not by the locals in Southeast Asia, but majority, like the white tourists who come, they give you that cold look, shitty look, unfriendly vibe. So yeah, I would love to hear from you. Like, have you experienced this kind of racism in Southeast Asia? Yeah. So if you like watching this video, make sure to like the video and all the good stuff. If you found this video to be informational, you can always buy me a coffee. The link is down in the description below. And if you want to start a successful online business, I highly recommend you check out this free webinar masterclass. I'm going to keep a link down in the description as well. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. This was me, Sujoy. Peace out.